That classic green and yellow is more than just paint on a tractor. It's a promise of durability, a legacy tied to the very soil of the nation. For nearly 2 centuries, John Deere has been exactly that. But today, a storm is gathering over its fields of green, and it has nothing to do with the weather. It's a storm of economics and policy, and a staggering number is hanging over the company, sending tremors from the boardrooms in Moline, Illinois, to the dusty farm roads of Iowa. That number, a projected $600 million? dollars? That's the potential cost of tariffs John Deere is facing down this year alone. This isn't just an accounting headache or a line item in an earnings report. It's a seismic event, a warning shot that signals deep trouble not just for one company, but for the entire U.S. agricultural sector. What does it mean when a giant like Deere is forced to make drastic cuts? This isn't just about a balance sheet. It's a warning signal for the future of American farming. So how is Deere fighting to survive this nightmare? And what does it mean for the rest of us? The breakdown, the shocking numbers. To really get a handle on this, you have to look at the numbers, and they paint a grim picture. The headline figure is that potential $600 million pre-tax hit from tariffs for the fiscal year. And this isn't hypothetical. In its most recent third quarter, tariff costs hit Deere for about $200 million, bringing the year-to-date total to around $300 million. These are not small rounding errors. They are direct, painful blows, driven primarily by tariffs on steel and aluminum, along with retaliatory measures from key markets. The fallout is all over the company's financials. In its latest third-quarter report, John Deere announced a net income of $1.289 billion. While that sounds like a huge number, it's a steep 26% drop from the $1.73 billion it earned in the same period a year ago. Net sales, the lifeblood of any manufacturer, also fell by 9% to just over $10.3 billion. The pain isn't spread evenly either. The Production and Precision Agriculture Division, the part of the business that builds the massive combines and tractors that define the brand, saw its sales plummet by 16% and its operating profit get chopped in half compared to last year. In response to this pressure, the company has been forced to make tough calls. It trimmed its profit forecast for the year to a range of $4.75 billion to $5.25 billion. That seemingly small adjustment sent shares tumbling because it signaled to Wall Street that the company sees rough seas ahead. As CEO John May put it, the company is navigating challenging times. It's not just about tariffs. Low commodity prices and high interest rates are also making farmers think twice before spending. But the tariffs are a massive anchor, dragging the whole ship down and forcing the company into a defensive crouch. The why, unpacking the tariff war. So, what exactly is this $600 million monster? It all comes down to a tangled web of global trade policies, specifically tariffs on the raw materials and parts essential for building heavy machinery. The biggest culprits are the steep tariffs, some as high as 50%, on steel and aluminum imports. These materials are the very skeleton of a John Deere tractor. When the cost of that skeleton suddenly skyrockets, the entire cost of the machine gets thrown out of whack. Think of it like building a house when the price of lumber and nails doubles overnight. You have two choices: eat the massive cost increase and make less profit, or pass it on to the buyer. John Deere is in the same boat, but it's not that simple. These tariffs don't just raise the price of imported steel, they give domestic steel producers cover to raise their prices too. This creates a classic margin squeeze. Deere is caught in the middle. On one side, its costs are being jacked up by trade policy. On the other, its customers, American farmers, are dealing with their own economic headaches, like low crop prices. So if Deere raises its prices too much, it risks killing sales. If it doesn't raise them enough, its profit margins get crushed. This is the nightmare scenario. Deere's chief financial officer, Joshua Jepson, has said the company tries to recoup tariff costs through price increases and cost cutting. But there's a limit to how much you can cut and how high you can raise prices before the business model starts to buckle. The tariffs aren't just a tax, they're a fundamental disruption to the delicate balance of supply and demand that companies like Deere have spent decades perfecting. The ripple effect, from factory floor to farm field. This story of tariffs and profit warnings isn't just happening on spreadsheets. It has a real and often painful human impact that ripples out from corporate headquarters and touches communities across the American heartland. The tough decisions made in Moline have real-world consequences for the workers who build the machines and the farmers who depend on them. When a company of Deere's size has to cut costs to match lower demand, one of the first and hardest choices is reducing its workforce. Over the past year, John Deere has implemented a series of layoffs affecting its employees. Just recently, in August 2025, Deere confirmed it was laying off over 230 workers at three key Midwest facilities: 115 at Harvester Works in East Moline, Illinois, 52 at its seeding and cylinder plant in Moline, and 71 at its foundry in Waterloo, Iowa. The company says these actions are a direct result of decreased demand and lower order volumes as the struggling ag economy hits equipment orders. For the families in these towns where John Deere is a pillar of the community, these layoffs are devastating. This is compounded by the fact that the company is shifting some production to a new facility in Mexico, sparking fears that these jobs may not come back. Meanwhile, out in the fields, farmers are feeling the other side of this squeeze. Facing higher equipment prices and their own financial uncertainty, many are choosing to repair their existing machinery instead of buying new. This isn't a new trend, but the current economic climate has put it into overdrive. This repair over replace culture highlights the ongoing right to repair debate as farmers push for more access to the tools and software needed to fix their own high-tech equipment, hoping to avoid costly dealer service calls. Deere's playbook: how a giant fights back. Faced with a $600 million headwind, a company like John Deere doesn't just stand still. It adapts, it strategizes, it deploys a complex playbook to navigate the storm. The company's response has been a multi-pronged attack, focusing on managing inventory, reconfiguring its supply chain, and pivoting harder toward technology. The first, most immediate tactic has been aggressive inventory management. CEO John May has emphasized the need to match production to actual retail demand, deliberately slowing down factory lines to avoid a glut of unsold equipment. CFO Josh Jepson noted that Deere has already had success here, trying to build a healthier market for everyone by keeping equipment values stable. It's a disciplined, if painful, strategy of managed scarcity. The second front is a fundamental rethinking of its global supply chain. For decades, manufacturers built complex networks to source parts from the cheapest places. Tariffs blew that model up. In response, Deere is actively reevaluating supply contracts and leaning on regional trade agreements like the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA, which can provide relief from some tariffs. It's a clear move to source more from North America, creating a shorter, more predictable supply chain compared to relying on overseas suppliers. Finally, Deere is speeding up its transformation from a pure equipment maker into a tech and service company. The repair over replace trend, while a problem for new sales, creates an opportunity. By focusing on service contracts in the parts business, Deere can build more stable, recurring revenue. This ties directly into its big push into precision agriculture. The company is betting its future on an ecosystem of hardware, the tractor, software, the John Deere Operations Center, and data. Even with revenues down, executives are highlighting growth in precision ag tech bundles and its satellite connectivity service, JD Link. It's a long-term bet that data and services will eventually be just as valuable as the steel they're built on. The bigger picture: a storm brewing for American industry. John Deere's tariff nightmare isn't happening in a vacuum. It's a canary in the coal mine for American manufacturing and agriculture. The pressure on this iconic company reveals deeper shifts that are challenging old ideas about globalization, supply chains, and the future of American industry. The core issue here is the fragility of global supply chains. For years, the playbook was simple: find the cheapest parts wherever they are. The recent waves of tariffs have shown how vulnerable that model is to political shocks. Now, companies across many sectors are facing the same painful choices as Deere. This has accelerated the trend of reshoring or nearshoring, where companies bring production closer to home or to friendly neighbors like Mexico and Canada under the USMCA framework. It's a massive shift from a focus on pure efficiency to one that values resilience. For the American farmer, the implications are a vicious cycle. On one hand, retaliatory tariffs from other countries hit their crop exports. On the other, tariffs on materials raise the cost of the very equipment they need. Lower farm income leads to less demand for new machines, which hurts manufacturers like Deere, forcing them to make cuts that further impact the heartland economy. What we're seeing might be the start of a new era defined by strategic regionalization. The grand experiment of a perfectly seamless global economy is being tested. In response, Deere is laying out a potential roadmap for survival. Manage inventory, invest in regional supply networks, and double down on high-value technology. The company has even signaled a massive $20 billion commitment to upgrade and enhance its U.S. manufacturing facilities over the next decade. A clear bet on the importance of a strong domestic footprint. This signals a strategic pivot, a recognition that in this new world, controlling your own production and technology is the ultimate advantage. So we come back to that staggering $600 million figure. It's far more than a number on a balance sheet. It's the cost of a global trade war hitting an American icon. We've seen how this pressure has forced Deere into a series of tough, defensive moves, slowing production, painful layoffs, and a high-stakes game of supply chain chess. We've also seen how these corporate decisions ripple outward, affecting factory workers and farmers across the country. But this crisis is also a story of adaptation. Deere isn't just taking the hits, it's trying to build a more resilient company for the future. By managing inventory, strengthening its North American supply chain, and betting big on technology and a $20 billion US investment, Deere is writing a new playbook for survival in a volatile world. We want to know what you think. Is Deere making the right moves? And what does this all mean for the future of farming and manufacturing where you live? Let us know in the comments below.